Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode in the series Random Ramble here on my YouTube channel, Conversations with Shelly. For those of you joining me for the first time, I am Shelly. And for those of you who've been around the block with me for some weeks now, welcome back. Now, for those of you who are new and not quite in the know as to what we do here on Random Rambles, or certainly what I do here on Random Rambles. I'll just give you context as to what it is and how we go about doing this particular series. Now, my Random Rambles are my weekly digest. It is pretty much basically a very free flowing and unscripted, unfiltered talk series, right? There's pretty much no structure. There are things that I have not thought about or have not thought about long enough to be able to stand fully 10 toes down in what I have said. And there are times when I have to dial back, pedal back, take some of it back. Even in instances, I may have to apologize for the things that I have said. But ultimately, there's no structure. And what you can expect is real talk, sometimes very personal reflections, relatable thoughts, and certainly it's packed with emotional honesty. So, as per usual, I always have my notes just to guide my thought process. Not in any way, as I said, not in any way something that is scripted. Certainly not, because it would have defeated the whole purpose of random rambles, right? But I usually go around my friend circle and I usually pick, you know, topics, pick ideas, things that they have I've heard them, speak about day to day, or even I myself have thought about it day to day, or at some point in time, and I just thought, what if I just, you know, do something quite unfiltered and just speak on it? And that's exactly what this is aimed to do. So I have a couple of topics, a couple of things that I want to drop into your space and drop into your soul, and hopefully we can talk about it and comment on it, and you can hear my own personal and honest opinion on them. As I said, I may have to take it back, may not. We'll just see. Okay. So my first random ramble is something that I came across very recently within my social media space. And it's not new to me, but the conversation and the traction that it has gotten has created somewhat of a resurgence in this particular area. What I'm talking about is a topic that has been with us as long as we can just imagine. And this is the topic of age gap relationships. Now, the reason why this particular one has come across in recent times and has somehow started to flood the YouTube space, guys, I'm going to lose my power. Just give me a minute, right? Why it has come across in the YouTube page, random rambles. It's just we just do what we have to do. We don't. There's no script here. Losing some power, and we just do what we have to do, right? Um, right. So it has in recent times come across, social media space and the the aggression that it has suddenly emerged with is bringing me back to this topic that somehow I've always, been something that I've always wanted to speak on. So let me just give it a context. So there is a particular channel. I'm familiar with it because during COVID, when we were very stationary, not having anywhere to go, not having much to do, I found myself being clocked in to this particular channel at the time. And it is a young lady, very eloquent, love how she carries and conducts herself um, in the space. Her name is Alicia Kim. Now, at the time when she came on this social media space, I particularly was somewhat concerned. I was concerned for her because of this very topic, the age gap relationship. Now, at first, as I said, it was something that I thought about, and I said, why? what would be the reason and the rationale for such a young girl to be connected to such a, an older gentleman? And at first, I thought, mind your own business. Like, really and truly, girl, mind your own business. That was in my initial thought. However, there's a human aspect to us all, and we all have that human frailty that for blips of a second, we step outside of ourselves and we go walk through people back door, sometimes even in front door, and we start to comment on their lives. No, I won't make this about Alicia Kim or her ex-husband. It's not about her, but that was the basis on which I started to think about this particular topic years ago. But I said, if you want to figure out what's happening with her, you can always go over and watch her entire life story, her journey up to date, right? But the age gap relationship for me is something that I've wanted to explore, because one of the things I've often asked myself is what could really and truly cause a young girl or a young guy to find themselves entangled with somebody who is 30, 40, or even 20 years their senior. And initially, my thought went to, there must be some mental issue here, meaning there is some daddy issue, or there is some mother issue, or there must be some financial reason, some financial, thing that is operating, that narrative that is speaking, that is causing someone to consider entering into an age gap relationship. Now, there may be many reasons. I'm not going to tell you, say there isn't, because I'm sure outside of the mental that I've just mentioned and outside of the finance thing that I mentioned, there may be other reasons. I remember back when her channel came out, a lot of persons were commenting to say, is opportunity she want to go to foreign and all these kind of things. So saying this to say that there are many varying reasons as to why persons would want to potentially explore an age gap relationship. And whatever those reasons are, that's again not my concern. But speaking on a very general level, I need to tell you what my position is. Now, me no business when nobody want to say. My position is there can really be no gain, absolutely no gain. And I speak in absolute. As I'm telling you, so I probably have to say it and take it back. But I speak in absolute and unequivocally say anybody who enters into an age gap relationship needs to seriously sit down with themselves and figure out, do an audit of their mental state, their financial capability, or other non-financial things as to why this situation seems to be the best for them. Because the reality of it is that there is really very little that you can gain in its true sense from a severe age gap relationship. Meaning, you can get the tangible things that you're going after. You may get the visa, you may get the US residency or the whatever other residency. You may also get the financial stability that you're seeking. All tangible stuff because they can go away. You may also be able to deal with the mental anguish or the mental deficiency that is happening that you need to look into, whether, as I said, whether it's a daddy issue or a mommy issue. But whatever it is, in my view and in my opinion, age gap relationships don't make no sense. I know people are gonna come for me, but it's my opinion. And as I said, if you can show me otherwise, I'm always willing to learn. People, remember me telling you that? Always willing to learn. So I'm not close to the idea that it may make sense to somebody. But until that somebody come and tell me how it makes sense, me not think this age gap relationship with somebody 20 years you're seeing and 30 years and 5 can make sense. You want to know why? First and foremost, you will, in 8 out of 10 cases, be communicating on different wavelengths. Not just the fact that you are generations apart. And for those of you who are going to say yes, but one of the persons them can have a old spirit, trust me, your spirit could have hold until it can't hold no more. There are certain things that are just specific to your generation that the next person will not get. Communication is going to be difficult because they just won't get it. And this has nothing to do with another person as an old spirit or the person of a young spirit. Because in that instance I was telling you about, I am sure that was something that they ran across their mind. Oh, when you think about it, Alicia has a old soul. And I do see that in her. I do see the old soul and the old spirit in her that could have, at first glance, make you feel that she will get this man. But what is now happening in social media is that she's telling her story and her life as it now is, reflecting back on the years that have gone. And one of the things that she has highlighted, which supports my point, is the fact that she has made it clear that when they just started, he didn't get her avid interest in Facebook or YouTube and all of those things. He just didn't get it. And it took some amount of getting him used to it, by her own admission. And while people will say, yeah, but him get it, Shelly, at some point in time, he got it. And they were able to communicate at that level. But the reality is, he didn't. What happened in that instance, in my opinion, is he acquiesced. Like every other situation that you will think, oh, I understand, I get it now. In most times, people just acquiesce. They just can't bother to argue about it anymore. They just can't bother to hear your opinion of it anymore. And it is too tiring for them. So they just say, okay, I get it. And I honestly believe that because he just did not understand what it is, it created a problem. No, it may not be social media for you. It may be something else, something in that age gap continuum. And I'm saying this to say because in a lot of instances, no matter how much you think you're going to get the person, regardless of the age that they are at, there is always going to be something that is unique to the generation, to the time that they were born, that is going to create a problem for you and vice versa. So for me, I'm going to tell you straight up, yeah, me not going to accept anybody telling me that age gap relationship is possible. Me just that me never sit down. Me never accept that. Me just never accept that because I know in my experience it don't work. Relationships by themselves don't even work when you two are on the same time and space continuum. Worse so when one 20 years older. Can you imagine? Practical scenario upon the plate now, upon the table. Can you imagine you are a 45-year-old woman born in 1980 or 1979, one of those years, and your spouse was born in, say, 2000? no matter how whole him soul be, him just gonna have some things and more things than some that will just not connect in your world and vice versa. There's just some things, more things than the sum that will just not connect in his world. Yeah? So to save yourselves and to save others a whole lot of trauma, and we have now seen it played out in social media in this instance as I'm telling you about. To save yourselves all of that lost years, emotional trauma, financial trauma, no bother with it. No bother with it. Stick to the people them where communication within a generation is the same. Understanding within a generation is the same. Morals, values, those things are the same. Because a 45-year-old have different value system than somebody who's Gen Z. So millennials, me I talk to owner now. Millennials, we have value system where one Gen Z now go get. No, I am looking in a simple workplace. And being millennial, I'll say to one of the Gen Zs, we have a project to work on. We have to finish the project. The project has a deadline. So if we have to pull out all the stops, and if some people just have to go sleep on the chair in the office, but we have something where we need to deliver upon. We have a case that we need to, show up top game for. And a millennial, and this is a real life story, a millennial would have no issues with that. And they would be on the same page saying, hey, yeah, this thing has to be done. Let's get it done. We're gonna stay. We're gonna order some pizza, order some wine, whatever it is, and we're just gonna stay and get it done. The Gen Z comes in and says, "No, them not stay and nobody now get them to stay at work past 5 o'clock because nobody now pay them enough money to stay at work past." And it was a bag of, and I was listening, and I said to myself, the level of professional ethics, the level of just general professionalism, knowing that this is a one-off, as my granny would have said, this is one-off, and the level of commitment was just not there. And this is in a professional space where you're being paid. So what happens in the real world, so to speak, when you're dealing with your partner, and one is a millennial and one is a Gen Z, and you say to one, say, give me your passport, I need you to come migrate now, or give me your come off of Facebook because there's nothing good can happen on Facebook, or 8 o'clock we go to bed. Me can't stay up past 8 o'clock because at them the time that my body as a millennial, I say shit I need sleep. And the Gen Z is looking at you going, is this man mad? Is this lady crazy? She expect me to go to my bed 8 o'clock? She expect me not to have on the phone in the bed? I think I ramble on a lot about this. I do believe that it is something that will never work. Never work. So to Miss Alicia, Kim, and Boo, it's quite unfortunate. More so for Alicia because, as I said, she was. It has changed her, I'm sure. But in 2019, when it all started, and I was clocked in there with you, I was concerned for you then. I was concerned for you then. I was happy for you, but I was concerned for you at the same time. And I just want to share that concern to others who may be going through the same thing. That, hey, love is love. We don't know who we're going to fall in love with. And you may very well fall in love with somebody who is your senior. But before you get to that final place of marriage and migration and children, sit down with yourself. Sit down in the honesty of yourself. Sit down in the thought of what you're getting yourself involved in. Weigh all the pros, all the cons. Give yourself some time to see how you are going to mesh. And if it works, it works. But in my view, it not gonna work. It not gonna work. I may have to take it back. But for now, I can tell you, it ain't gonna work. Okay. Random ramble number one. Random ramble number two. No, this is something that I don't know. Me side on that one, yeah, because I always hear people talk about say there are women in society who emasculate men. I mean, always I say to myself, hmm, why we live in a one world where I don't know who is the weaker of the sex. Because if we look at emasculation of men by women and the perception of powerful, strong women, putting on something, some clue that in some way, shape, or form emasculates a man by her own independence and her own strength and her own knowledge and self worth. And that translates in any situation, any relationship, as that particular woman emasculating a man. Then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. Because it simply means that the pendulum is only swinging in one direction. And if a man is going to feel, and if we as women are going to be told that by our own self worth and by our own independence and by our own voice, finding that voice, we are going to be told that we are emasculating our men, then eyes will step out strongly to say, men, you all are weak. You all are weak. And you should not on no day of the week, and worse so on a Sunday, feel in any way that your other half or your friend or your family member who so happens to be a strong woman emasculates you. So if she in her male energy can somehow trump or emasculate you, then it means that you're in your female energy. Now, so then who you gonna blame for that? Who are you going to blame for the fact that you've allowed a strong woman to dethrone you off your throne of a man? You gonna blame the woman? You gonna look for your friend them and tell your friend them say, oh, me not deal with Shelly because Shelly emasculate me. She take me Shelly. You hear yourself when you say that? You want to know if you don't hear yourself when you not talk about woman emasculate and women, please. You stop walk and tell people about say, oh no, women are not emasculating men. Where you come from with that? Where you come from thinking that when one man not act right and we talk about it, we emasculate? Are your egos so fragile that as a man, a woman, or anybody for that matter, can't say to you, hey, check yourself. Check yourself, you're not going good. Check yourself. Yeah? And by telling that person to check themselves, them feel like say you emasculate them. I don't know, maybe me not understand emasculate mean. Maybe me not understand. I mean I like for things I me not understand for true. Because the reality of it is that it makes very little sense. It makes very little sense that by my own strength and my own worth in telling you what I expect, as you would tell me, that it translates in your world as if I'm emasculating you. Then let me ask you something. If the tables were turned, can I say that men effeminate women? You know that's not how word, people. Trust me, me know. You don't have to come to me for the one and another. Me know. But me just make a point. Is it then fair to say that when the tables are turned, we can, as women, say to our men, you just effeminate me? And this is something that is going to now make sense. Because if it's good for the goose, then it must be good for the gander. And if I can emasculate a man by being a strong woman, then I presume a strong man can equally, what's the word? Effeminate a woman? Me know it's not a word, but yeah. Does that make sense to you? Kind of make no sense over yourself. It absolutely don't make no sense over yourself. But I'm just trying to paint the picture that let us be at least conscious of the things that we say in society when we use things very generous and very loose in talking about women emasculate men. Men emasculate themselves. Men unemasculate themselves by walking around and tripsing, thinking that y'all are strong and y'all are providers and y'all are lion of the jungle, hear me roar. When in actuality and in reality, y'all are not. So save and except for those who fall within the exception. And I'm talking to those who, as a woman say something to you, when you ready for yeah, emasculate me now, yeah, boy me up. You forget boy up. You forget boy up if you not behave like man. And I'm saying that with as seriousness as I possibly can. If you behave like boy, you forget boy up. And vice versa. But I don't want them here dealing now. If you turn up into the universe less than a man, you forget emasculated. Somebody that emasculate you and put you where you belong to make you get some um, courage and strength, some supplicant, something. Because I don't know when I come from with this thing about people are emasculate you because of a little bit are weak. Nothing no hurt me so than to turn up and say big man I go on them a woman. Eh? I go on like say they want people for what. Me not say you're not gonna have a situation where a man need to be vulnerable. Let me get that straight. I'm not talking about those instances. I'm talking about everyday scenario where as you talk to a man and you show say you're not idiot and yet you can't box me around the place and turn me make to think man I go come talk about say you're emasculative. It's not my fault that your confidence and your thing is being undermined by your own self. Because that is what really and truly it is about. It is about you as the man feeling undermined. And this undermining that is taking place has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with how you view yourself, what you think of yourself that is causing you to feel like somebody is turning you into a boy. Well, if you're a boy and you want to feel like man, go back to your mother. Go back to your mother. Your mother will send words of affirmation to your soul to make you feel like man. But when you turn up like boy, go sit down, man. Actually, no one upset me when big man I come talk about woman emasculate them because the woman talk two things and then only not like it. Only not talk things all the time, but we have to just take it up and behave and put on with big girl panties and keep it moving. You know much man miss you know much man come in my space and say things to me and me just have to just say, why one of them day they not Shelly just have to just so tough it out your back, brad. Literally a favorite. If you see it on here. Jesus. Favor them quarterbacker. But you know much time man says something to me and me just have to just take it up and swallow it and just say, yeah, I just one of them day there. And me just have to just put on the big girl panty and me say and just go deal with life. Me can't sit down and sulk and say, oh, he just effeminate me. Let me tell you something, me make up the word there. Right? Yeah. Gonna get the point. Random ramble number 3. Now this one again, I got the social media space. And it was about sexing in relationship. No, not sexing. What am I talking about? Sexing is supposed to go in a relationship. Why, Shelly, you look a bit I'm tired. You guys, I'm tired. Texting. That is it. Why? Texting. Texting in a relationship. No, it's not texting. I remember what the guy did say. But let me just tell you what I'm talking about. So the idea behind it is that you have men who will ask females for nude photos. You're in a conversation with them, conversation new bright, just a start, and the man just jump out of the blue. Send me one picture now. Now the fellow made a very, very, very valid point. And I laughed at it because I said, why a long time in I hear such truths? And the fellow say, ladies, and coming from a man, this was quite a moment for me. And the fellow says, ladies, when you're in a new little thing and a new thing I go out, boy, guys, me don't know we're going to the hearing about. Jesus, help it. And when you come in a new relationship and the gentleman says to you, send me a new picture now, and you did I wonder, you not too early for that, or something this one for do, and you as a female you feel cute though because you really want to engage and you really want to see if this is something that you can get into. I mean the relationship, not the sending of the new photo, but you want to see where this is gonna go. And you stop to yourself and you're pondering and you're thinking about it and you're going through the all your scriptures and you finally land at the place where you decide to send the nude photo. Now me I go tell you something. You see for me and my household, me tell you already, she ain't no gold digger. She ain't no gold digger. Yeah. But you see anybody will slide up in a my DM or my phone. I may not know you from Adam. I may just get to know you. Or we been a try know each other. And you come contact me, send me a picture. Me I go send you a picture. Me I go send you a picture. Trust me. You get a picture, but you go shock. You see the picture me I send you? As the gentleman say. See the picture me I go send you? Is the picture of my bills. My light bill, my water bill, my student loan, my mortgage, my car payment, all of my bills them. Me I take them one and send them to you. So when you're done, you go sorry you did ask me for a picture. Uno to look a bit and dirty and bright. In a them you good age, I don't look for people girl picking and contact about send picture. Send picture of what? Eh? And ladies, when you get up and you not take on nice, clean self and I send it, look here. I'm gonna stop the foolishness. No, me not say. Me not say, no good clean man can send picture. Because remember, I'm done see everything already. It doesn't matter at this point. You can send all I know what I say. But don't nothing new one man I come telling about send picture. Send picture what? If me just know you and you tell me if you send a picture, you go and get a couple picture. Me promise you. Me promise you me I go send you the picture. You know me I go send you every single bill where you them on there. Any month you ask me for the picture in a at the month you'll get the every single solitary bill out there that go send picture. To look a bit and bright. Never see a world where we live in a where somebody disappoint where you're not going to about send picture. Random ramble number 4. Now, again, social media space this week. I didn't have much interaction with my friends because this week is kind of like a holiday. So I just love people this week for just eat them bun and cheese and carry on with them goodly religious affairs. But I was scrolling through social media and this one came up. The issue is, do we really only get one true love for a lifetime? And I thought to myself, I've heard many songs, I've heard many poems. I mean, I think William Blake, one of the greatest English poets of all times, I think he had a poem about one true love or something. I may get that wrong, but I love his poems. So, yeah, I'm inclined to say it's him who wrote the poem. But the thought had entered my mind when I decided to sit down and digest whether or not there is such a thing as you getting only one true love for your lifetime. What is my position on it? I do believe so. Yeah, I know. I do believe so. And this is only because life is so short. Life is so short. We're actually here for 70 years, and if you manage to get 75 or 80 or 90, you bingo. You're on, borrowed time. And because we're here for such a short space of time, we will go through lots of relationships, lots of things that appear to be love. Sometimes we ourselves confuse it for love. But there's really, however long you're on this earth for, you will experience that one person in your life, that whether they pass on or whether they've walked away and they've walked off in the sunset, you sit into that, feeling, and you can tell yourself that as long as you are going to be remaining on God's earth, that experience, you'll never have it again. You'll have others. You certainly will have others. I'm not gonna tell you that you won't have other experiences. But what I will tell you, well, I mean, I know we're going for the year end, but anyway, what I will tell you is that you may never experience that in anyone else. And it may cause you to doubt, question, regret. But one thing is for certain, I strongly believe that we only do get one love for our lifetime. And as I said, you will pass through many and you will think that they were the love of your life. There's always that one person that no matter if you've moved on, no matter if the person has passed away, no matter if the person has moved on, there is this one person that every time you close your eyes, every time somebody walks by, every time somebody smiles, that looks, feels, smells, you say to yourself, that was the one. So yes, I do believe strongly that we never get a second chance at true love. We get second chances at relationships. We get second chances at marriages. We get second chances of having a life partner. But we never get a second chance at true love. It comes around once and one time only. So when you do find that one somebody where as breeze blow, you remember their smell. As you look up in the clouds, you see their image. As you hear a sentence, you said, that's something that he would say, or that is something that she would do. Trust me, that is the person that was sent here for you. And if you can, because sometimes you can't, but if you can, work it out, figure it out, mesh it out, max it out, calculate it out, every all it out, go do it. Because nothing else will make sense along the way. No matter how many fixes, no matter how many things you do, that one experience will remain with you forever and ever. Amen. Trust me. We spend a lifetime and try to find it back. And sometimes we just have to settle. And we just have to settle and say, okay, that was my one opportunity at love and true love. And the rest is just what what's next. Yeah. Final random ramble. Survival mode. No, this one came from a friend. Well, not really a friend. I don't want to use those things loosely. This one came from a colleague of mine. We were actually talking about. She actually called me on Thursday, and she says to me, "Boy, me feel like me want to give up. Not give up on life, yeah. Let me must make that clear, cause girl love her life. But she did say to me, boy, Shells, I feel like I want to give up. And I said to her, why? What's happening? And she says, I'm in a relationship, and every day I wake up on hard. I wake up on hard. Not easy about the relationship. And I said to her, girl, you wake up on hard just by waking up. Life is already hard. So you're waking up hard times two. And she said, girl, you have no idea. And we sat and we talked. Actually, we were on the phone. I was driving and she was, I think, at her desk or something. And we were talking about what is causing her to feel this way. And she said, Shelly, I'm in a situation, and every hour of the day I feel like I'm in survival mode. I feel like I'm having to develop a strategy, a plan, a survival mechanism to get to the next hour of the relationship. Because there's always something that I have to survive. I have to survive this conversation about the bills, or I have to survive this conversation about the kids, or I have to survive this conversation about our future. And nothing seems easy. Everything for her seems like she's on a battlefield. Now, my advice to her, and my advice to myself sometimes, because listen, when I give this advice, trust me, I become to give myself them sometime too. Life hard, people. It don't make no sense. You're living in today's world where only 1% of the world is really waking up soft. 1%. And we know that 1%, the well-to-dos, yeah? The haves, those who haves, yeah? Only 1% are wake up and soft, literally and figuratively, like their world is just a soft world. For the other percentile of us, we wake up with every single solitary thing that can knock us down hard. It's going to knock us down hard. So for the things that don't have to be hard, no make them no harder than they need to be. So I said to her, yes, you're surviving, but you're not living. What is going to take you to not have to survive and not having to go into that survival mode is if you realize that certain things you just have to let it go. You cannot fight everything because you won't win everything. Yeah? You just have to know what battles you're going to take on, and you're going to leave the war to some other person. And I can tell you that I choose my battles. There are some days that I just decide, say, war are going, but you say they'll fight, they will put the battle here, and I might fight. The one here, and I might fight. I'm going to make God fight the one here for me. I may just leave it. And the next day I'll take up another one, and I'll fight that one because God say, you can't go deal with the one on your own. I mean, just a thank you, God. I'm going to deal with it. Yeah? But I said to her, being in constant survival mode and persons not realizing that you're in this mode is something of a great concern because me can't imagine and live life already as it is to add more to it. Me just not gonna do it. And maybe I'm too nonchalant about it, but I'm not gonna fight to work the 9 to 5 and to pay my bills and to take care of myself and then fight with you about how I spend my money. Me not gonna do it. Me just not gonna fight. Coming, you gonna talk about it, but me not gonna answer you. And that was a scenario for her. Like she was saying, I work so hard, I do so much, and I can't spend my money the way that I want to spend it. And I say, girl, what you say? You work your own money. No, me not say you can't have times when things need to be tight. But that was not her. That was not her reality. She says the gentleman is telling her that yes, she work hard and she work her own money, but something needs to stop with her in terms of her spending. No, I know her, and she's not a girl that spends frivolously. So when she says it to me, I said to her, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why would he even think to say to you that you need to stop spending? You're not a frivolous spender. And she told me that that message came to her because he wanted something and he wanted her to contribute to the something that he wanted. So he's telling her that, listen, you need to stop spending. Now I'm not gonna call her name because we spoke about it and she knows I do these little random things. But I told her I would have spoken on it and I want to say, friend, choose your battle. He's a decent fellow. He's just doing or saying things that right now you don't particularly like. But choose your battles. I'm not telling you to give in and stop spending because the things that I think you spend on are things that you need or things that you deserve. But what I will say to you is as much of it as you can keep out of his purview and out of the consciousness of his mind, do so. So if you can buy the things them girl, hide them for making can feel like you win, make him feel like you win. And go and buy your things them. Hide them somewhere. Me keep them. You see, if you want to buy one car and if you're my yard, carry come. Carry come, me keep it. I drive it 1 or 2 times, but me go drive 1 or 2 times, but me keep it. If you want to buy one house and you don't want him know, go buy the house. He not fi know till the time he need fi know. Go buy the house and carry title only from my yard. Me keep it for you, my friend. That's the least I can do, right? So my advice to my friend was to go to war, but choose your battles. Choose your battles. Guys, I'm looking at guys. I hope you can tell that I'm very tired, you know. You notice I'm not dramatic this weekend. Yes, a girl can behave herself. Honestly, I can actually sit down and behave myself and I not have my ADHD kick in. I can actually sit down and have a very calm conversation. Not all the time, though, it kind of feel like a strange. But all in all, girl can sit down and behave herself and behave like Mr. Hamilton and good dada. And on that note, let us do this again next week. Same time, same place. Take care.